A massive building stands as a sign of authority. Inside, a man paces his office, phone pressed to his ear. He holds a lawsuit in one hand, but suddenly flings it across the room in frustration. Boys fight all the time. It's nothing, he snaps. His secretary stiffens, watching him lose his temper. On the other end, Congressman Seo remains calm. I heard you got a warning letter, Mr. Seo remarks. The man on the phone flinches, but quickly regains his composure. Please. My place is crawling with heroes. I even have an electric guy in the building. What could go wrong? It's a strange world they live in, a world where heroes with superpowers face off against villains. With that, he steps into his office and freezes. A man sits inside, relaxed, as if he owns the place. Nice office, the stranger compliments him. The congressman's confidence crumbles. His hands shake, but he forces out a question. Who are you? The man in the teddy bear mask grins. I'm with the executioner. The congressman inches backward. The teddy-masked man raises a hand, and a massive, beastly avatar materializes behind him. It glares down at the trembling politician. The executioner would like to see you. The congressman makes a run for it, but the beast is faster. The congressman groans, his body battered and bleeding. Across from him sits the most feared villain of them all. In one hand, the executioner holds an apple, then crushes it effortlessly in his fist, juice dripping onto the floor. He's pleased. Jay, the teddy-masked goon, did a fine job dragging the politician here. With a flick of his wrist, the executioner tosses a stack of incriminating photos onto the ground. The congressman stares at them, his face draining of color. Bribery, fraud, conspiracy, it's all there. But to the villain, the man is nothing more than noisy bait, a cockroach scurrying where he shouldn't. The realization of who his captor is makes the bound politician melt into pure terror. The executioner rises to his feet, shaking his head. Why do the so-called heroes of this great civilization let filth like you run free? He steps closer, crouches, and gives the congressman a patronizing pat on the shoulder. Don't worry. I'm on your case. Then, flames burst to life around his fists. The air grows thick with heat, as he prepares to turn the man into nothing but ashes, until something interrupts him. A searing beam flies past his head. The executioner dodges effortlessly, barely glancing at the near miss. He smirks cause he already knows who fired it. Men in uniform storm in, barking orders for him to stop. The straps on their sleeves give them away. The executioner doesn't see officers, he sees lackeys, pawns of the council. He steps forward, his aura growing heavier, darker, suffocating. The officers tremble, their fingers twitching on their triggers. Before they can act, a sudden explosion erupts in the room, smoke filling the space. When it clears, the executioner is gone. They think he fled, but things are never that simple. In a flash, the executioner materializes behind one of the officers, gripping the man's face with an ironclad hold. With a roar, he slams the officer into the nearest wall, the impact sending cracks spider-webbing across the surface. The second officer stands frozen, his brain struggling to process what just happened. His partner was down in seconds. How is this monster so fast? The executioner shifts his gaze to the remaining officer, tilting his head slightly. The council is nothing but a bunch of hypocrites, he says casually. Then, in the same breath, he adds, don't worry, your life's not in danger. Comforting words, except they are coming from a man who just turned another officer into wall decor. The officer's knees buckle, and he collapses, fear overtaking his body. But something catches the executioner off guard. The man just called him sir. He blinks, more confused than entertained. That's when a beam smashes into his face, sending him flying. Dust and debris scatter, but within seconds, the executioner is back on his feet, eyes locked onto his attacker. His aura flares, a mixture of rage and intrigue. Across the room, a hero stands with a confident grin, completely unfazed. "How does it feel?" the hero taunts. "Nice to get a taste of your own medicine, huh?" The executioner exhales sharply, recognizing the man immediately. Ihun Kim, Chief of Security for the Hanyong Kim Heroes facility. His specialty? Air shots fired straight from his fingertips. Not a bad trick. But the executioner isn't impressed. The executioner doesn't flinch. He knows Ihun Kim is a big deal, Chief of Security and all, but that doesn't impress him. Instead, he smirks. "Wow, the great Ihun Kim, gracing us with his presence," he says, voice dripping with sarcasm. Then he adds, "You're not getting out of this unscathed." Ihun Kim takes it as a challenge, one he's more than happy to accept. He grins, ready for battle. The tension in the room thickens as the two powerhouses lock eyes, both preparing for a fight that will shake the very foundation of the silence. They just stare at each other. Neither moves. The tension drags on for a few painfully awkward seconds. Then Ihun Kim's phone rings. The loud, peculiar ringtone echoes through the room. The two men pause, blinking at each other. The executioner even nods in approval. "Catchy ringtone," he mutters. Ihun Kim shrugs and answers the call, pacing a little as he talks. The executioner, surprisingly patient, waits until his phone rings. And somehow, his ringtone is even weirder. Both men stare at each other again, completely zoning out at how ridiculous this situation has become. Without a word, they each take a few steps away to handle their calls, speaking in urgent tones to whoever's on the other end. Once the calls are done, they return to the battlefield, ready to resume their fight. But now, the executioner sighs, rolling his shoulders. Next time, he promises, before vanishing in a burst of flames. Ihun Kim watches him go, shaking his head. What a weird night. Officer Ihun Kim stands still, staring in the direction where the executioner vanished. It's a shame, really. He was looking forward to a proper fight. Behind him, the bound congressman erupts in rage, demanding the villain be captured and punished, not just for his crimes against society, but for the personal offense of kidnapping him. His voice rises with every word, and the officers from the council scramble to calm him down. Ihun Kim. He's not too concerned. He barely spares the man a glance. The congressman rants on about how he had submitted a special request to the council, yet somehow, this disaster still happened. Frustrated, he finally waves the officers off, demanding they get lost. Ignoring the drama, Ihun Kim notices the scattered papers on the floor. The congressman notices too, and immediately freaks out. His photos. His very incriminating photos. Flustered, he scrambles to gather them, awkwardly thanking the officers between muttered curses and forced gratitude. Ihun Kim doesn't care. He steps past the man, uninterested, until something unusual catches his eye. A piece of paper lies among the rubble, different from the rest. He picks it up, eyes narrowing as he reads the words. A wedding invitation. His grip tightens and his brain refuses to process it. The executioner is getting married. No, it just can't be right, right? Breaking news hits the airwaves. A hero family has saved a kidnapped congressman from the executioner. Cameras zoom in on the crime scene while reporters scramble for details. The journalist turns to the head of the Kim family, eager for an interview. He approaches, phone pressed to his ear, clearly in the middle of a call. Before he can react, reporters swarm him, shoving microphones in his face. He blinks, a little caught off guard, but manages to compose himself. He states the obvious, the executioner's crimes are getting worse. With the explosion of superpowered individuals, crime has escalated. Heroes rose to fight back, forming a council to maintain order, but villains pushed back even harder. And at the top of them all, the executioner. Nobody knows where he came from, but he crushed every major villain, toppled influential heroes, and earned the title of the most terrifying villain of all time. And now, he's targeting regular people. The thought of it makes one hero in the crowd clench his fists. This guy doesn't just get mad, he turns into a monster. Think of it like an on-or-off switch, but for absolute chaos. The journalist thanks the Kim family head for his words. The air suddenly fills with a loud, rumbling noise. Everyone looks up. A helicopter hovers above. The side door slides open, and a woman leans out, waving wildly. "Honey! Get on!" The monster hero doesn't hesitate. He leaps up, grabbing onto the helicopter with one massive hand like it's a jungle gym. The machine tilts slightly, struggling to support his weight. The crowd watches, speechless. What just happened? Hanging onto the helicopter like it's no big deal, the monster hero declares that the Hanyong Kim family and the Council of Heroes will no longer stand by while the executioner wreaks havoc. The crowd erupts in cheers, fully backing the heroes. The helicopter ascends, carrying the hero away. The journalist, still live on air, is urged to keep talking. She clears her throat and continues. Heroes, villains, and now even regular citizens, no one is safe from the executioner. It's a warning to the public, a reminder to stay cautious, but she reassures everyone, as long as the Council of Heroes stands strong, safety is still within reach. Meanwhile, in a completely different setting, the executioner, without his terrifying mask, frantically searches for his tie. He's in full panic mode. He demands to know where it is. Jay, his ever-reliable goon, casually tells him it's in the glove compartment. The executioner breathes a sigh of relief, thanking him. Jay, however, is still stuck on the news broadcast. He's irritated. The journalist called the congressman an ordinary citizen. The nerve. He asks if the boss wants to take care of the guy permanently. The executioner shakes his head. Not now. They'll deal with it later. This entire conversation happens in mere seconds, their car speeding down the road. The executioner finally cools off, tying his tie with precision. Today is important. The most important day. He had big plans. He was supposed to take down those so-called elite heroes, the Hanyong Kim family. But it didn't happen. It's annoying, so very annoying. Jaerim turns his attention to his mask, which is vibrating and rolling around on the seat next to him like it has a mind of its own. He requests a filter replacement. Jay, speaking through comms, assures him it'll be done. Jaerim isn't alone in the car. Well, technically, he is, but the car is self-driving, so it doesn't really count. The system alerts him of an incoming call. He allows it to go through. The voice on the other end is cold. A woman. She doesn't waste time on pleasantries. She asks a single question, one that momentarily stuns him. Where are you? Jaerim quickly recovers, assuring her that he's already at the destination, just parking. He grabs his phone, steps out of the car, and reassures her once more that he won't be late. In each hand, he carries a large bag. He walks with purpose. What's the mission? A dangerous showdown. A villainous plot. A hero takedown. Nope. Our male lead is meeting her family for the first time tonight. And, being the thoughtful man he is, he's brought gifts. A voice rings out, full of excitement. Jaerim. A young woman rushes toward him, eyes sharp with playful scolding. She glares at him, half annoyed, half relieved. I swear if you had been late today. Jaerim remains calm, offering a sincere apology. She huffs but lets it go, grabbing his hand. The two step inside together, letting out quiet breaths of relief. Their hands remain clasped. Tonight has to go well. Jaerim, also known as the executioner, is living a double life. By day, he's a devoted boyfriend, planning a future with the woman he fell for at first sight. By night, he's the most feared villain in existence. The lovebirds reach a door. His girlfriend suddenly pauses, turning to him with a hesitant look. Just so you know, you might be a little surprised when you meet my family. Jaerim chuckles. What? Are they some kind of big shots? He's not too worried. After all, nothing could possibly be more shocking than the massive secret he's hiding. Her response, a vague, kind of. No details, no clarification, just enough mystery to leave him mildly concerned. Haynes steps forward, leading the way, and Jaerim follows, still trying to figure out what she meant. Tonight, he was supposed to meet his girlfriend's normal, civilian family. Instead, he steps into a room filled with superpowered individuals. And their immediate reaction. Murderous intent. The air shifts, the pressure in the room skyrockets. Their combined aura is suffocating. Jaerim freezes. Yeah, okay. Maybe he should have asked more questions. Hayne quickly steps in, waving her hands. All right, let's not terrify my sweet boyfriend, okay? She turns to Jaerim with a bright smile. Babe, meet my family. Jaerim's soul practically leaves his body. Seated at the table. The Hanyeong Kim family of heroes. Her dad, her mom, her brother, her uncle, none other than Ihun Kim, the chief of security. And at the head of the table. Their grandfather, Ho Kim, the former leader of the hero family. The legendary hero family, the same heroes Jaerim has spent years plotting against. Ho Kim, ever the gentleman, gives him a kind smile. Sorry if we startled you, son. Jaerim doesn't move. Beads of sweat roll down his face. His girlfriend is their youngest daughter. His girlfriend is a Kim. Is this a trap? A cruel joke? A hidden camera prank? Hayne turns to him, blinking up at him with the most innocent puppy dog eyes. Is this too much for you? Jaerim stiffly grabs her hand. Can we step outside? Real quick. She looks genuinely concerned but nods. The second they are standing aside, Jaerim inhales deeply, stretches his arms to the sky like he's charging up energy, and then drops to his knees. Hands pressed to the ground, he salutes them. Respected elders of the Kim family, he declares. My name is Jaerim. I've been dating your beloved daughter for 2 years. A stunned silence, before her dad stares, bewildered. Ihun Kim's jaw twitches. Then, a chuckle, Grandpa Ho Kim leans back, stroking his beard. I like this one, he muses. Got guts. That's the kind of man my granddaughter needs. Jaerim bows deeper, forehead practically touching the floor. He, the executioner, the most feared villain in existence, is now facing the biggest crisis of his life. Hayne's parents wave off the extravagant gifts, telling Jaerim he didn't have to bring so much. They welcome him warmly, inviting him to take a seat. Jaerim keeps his cool, but internally, a new mission is locked in: keep his identity hidden, and get married no matter what. He sits at the table, keeping his posture perfect, his expression calm. The executioner. Who's that? Never heard of him. He's just Jaerim, a simple man, here to win over his lovely girlfriend's family. Dinner is served. He takes a bite, nods approvingly, and praises the meal. Hayne's mom beams, her dad gives a satisfied nod, and Grandpa Ho Kim laughs, clearly pleased with him. For a moment, it seems like things are going well. Like maybe, just maybe, he can pull this off. But then, his eyes land on him. Ihun Kim, Hayne's uncle, is munching on his bread, staring silently. And sticking out of his chest pocket, a certain wedding invitation, the same invitation Ihun Kim picked up at a crime scene. Jaerim keeps his expression neutral. Internally. Panic. This family, this wedding, this entire situation, it's going to be absolute chaos. And I cannot wait. Jaerim slides his business card across the table with the kind of confidence only a man with a well-rehearsed cover story can pull off. Cleaning business, it says. Sure, because everyone believes that. Grandpa Ho Kim picks up the card, squints at it, and nods approvingly. Impressive, he says, like he just found out Jaerim is the CEO of a tech empire. Owning a business at your age, that's something. Jaerim, ever the picture of false humility, waves a hand. Oh, it's just a small company, he says, as if the whole operation isn't shadier than a tree in summer. Now, here's the thing about Grandpa Ho Kim, he's not your average granddad, who spends his days complaining about back pain and reminiscing about the good old days. No, this man is the Ho Kim, the legend, the reason the Hanyong Kim family exists in its current form. If superheroes had a hall of fame, he'd have his own wing. See, in this world, 40% of the population has superpowers, and when families start sharing genes that crank out similar abilities, they tend to band together. That's how hero clans form entire family trees of crime-fighting powerhouses. And the Hanyong Kim family, they are at the top, all thanks to Ho Kim. Back in his prime, the man was a menace to villains. Not just the scary, brooding kind, either. He was the kind of hero who showed up to a fight with a baby strapped to his chest and still mopped the floor with criminals like it was just another Tuesday. The Hanyong Kim family started as a ragtag group of vigilantes. Think less polished superhero squad, more we fight crime because we feel like it. But Ho Kim had bigger plans. Under his leadership, they didn't just get popular, they became a force. Family clans became a thing, hero organizations sprouted up, and before anyone knew it, there was an entire national council of heroes. And yet, here he is, sitting across from Jaerim, pretending like he's just another old man who once dabbled in hero work. Modesty? Maybe. Or maybe he just enjoys watching young folks fumble through their lies. Jaerim sits at the table, carefully keeping his expression neutral. With a man like Ho Kim in the room, letting his guard down isn't an option. The old legend might be all smiles and kind words, but Jaerim knows better. Influence like that doesn't come without a sharp mind behind it. Just as he's lost in thought, Haynes' mother calls out to him, snapping him back to reality. She wants to know more about his work. Her tone is polite, but Jaerim knows better than to take questions from this family lightly. With a cheeky smile, he leans back and delivers his well-practiced answer. I bring in cleaning experts for factories, buildings, pretty much anywhere that needs cleaning. I'll dispatch contractors to handle the work. And if necessary. He pauses for dramatic effect, placing a hand on his chest like a man of great dedication. Sometimes, I even step in to clean myself. That's how he describes his job, as an executioner. With the kind of sincerity that could win an acting award, he informs the family of his work, with a look of pure pride. The Hanyong Kim family nods in approval. Passion is important in any profession, after all. They shower him with praise for his dedication. Jaerim, as always, remains humble, a true master of fake modesty. Then, there's a knock at the door. A chef steps in, carrying more food. Yes, even more food. Jaerim stares in disbelief. He's certain they've already eaten enough to feed an army. Yet, the steaming dishes keep coming. The family urges him to eat more, insisting that someone who works so hard needs to keep his strength up. Jaerim doesn't argue, he feasts like a beast, demolishing plate after plate until a towering stack of empty dishes sits in front of him like a monument to his appetite. Ever the generous hosts, the Hanyong Kim family offers to order more. Jaerim, patting his stomach like a man who just won a battle, shakes his head. He's grateful, truly, but even he has limits. Jaerim's phone buzzes. He glances at the screen, and there it is, bold and undeniable, work is calling. With a polite nod, he excuses himself. Sorry, important call from work, he says, as if he's about to discuss cleaning supplies instead of crime. Stepping outside, he answers. Jay's on the line, sounding slightly nervous, probably because the boss made it very clear that tonight was important. Apologies, boss, Jay starts, knowing full well he's interrupting. But Kay has the target completely surrounded. Jaerim's smirk is instant. Finally. The Lee family had been a pain to track down, but their patience paid off. Kay, his executioner director, top-ranking official in their little league of villains, has things locked down. Proceed, Jaerim orders, the satisfaction clear in his voice. Before Jay can respond, Jaerim catches movement from the corner of his eye. Someone's here. He doesn't even hesitate, click. Call ended. It's Ihun Kim, Hain's uncle steps forward casually, a cigarette in hand. You interested in having a smoke? Jaerim shakes his head with a casual smile. Quit a long time ago. Hain doesn't like it. Ihun stares for a second before chuckling. You're a hopeless romantic. Jaerim shrugs, he won't deny it. As he turns to leave, though, his mind lingers on one thought, did he hear anything? A single misstep could mean a disaster. Taking Ihun Kim out right here, right now wouldn't be difficult. Quick, clean, problem solved. But just as the idea crosses his mind, an image of Hain flashes through his thoughts. She's been looking forward to tonight's family gathering for weeks. She'd be devastated if anything ruined it. No, our male lead can't do anything reckless. Not tonight, Ihun Kim sighs dramatically behind him. Can't believe my niece is getting married when even I haven't tied the knot yet. Ihun Kim calls out, and Jaerim steps closer, keeping his usual cool composure. The uncle leans back, arms crossed. Must have been quite the shock when Hain introduced you to the Hanyong Kim family. Jaerim offers a polite chuckle. You could say that. Ihun nods knowingly. Hain's always been frail. Her abilities never manifested. The family had kept her out of the public eye for her safety. She couldn't tell anyone where she came from, and I know that must have been lonely for her. Jaerim listens, silent but attentive. She's grown a lot, Ihun continues. All I want is for her to be happy and to end up with someone good. His eyes flicker toward Jaerim, a quiet challenge hidden beneath his words. Jaerim dips his head. I appreciate that. With a smirk, Ihun leans forward. So, when are the wedding invitations coming? I've got a buddy who's great at that stuff. At the mention of wedding invitations, Jaerim's excitement is immediate. He pats his suit pocket, fully expecting to find the invitation, only to come up empty. His brow furrows, he's curious to know where it is and slam. A wedding invitation lands hard on the table. Jaerim's gaze snaps up. Ihun Kim stares at him, unreadable. This what you're looking for? The air shifts, tension thickens like a storm rolling in. Neither man moves, but their eyes say everything. They glow, Jaerim's in one peculiar shade, Ihun Kim's in another. Power hums between them, ready to ignite. Ihun tilts his head. Wanna know where I found it? Jaerim's heart pounds, though his face remains unreadable. Then, reality hits him like a freight train. The crime scene, his mind races, our male lead made a mistake, a careless mistake. And now, he's been caught. His fingers twitch. He's already considering his options. Take Ihun out, quick, before he says anything else. It would be easy, too easy. But just as he makes his decision, something happens. A loud, booming voice echoes through the building, shattering the air like a thunderclap. Hope you all enjoyed your meal. The voice rings out through a microphone, amplified by speakers. Now, if you're done stuffing your faces, let's get down to business. The atmosphere shifts, the room, once filled with warm chatter and the clinking of dishes, falls into stunned silence. Then chaos, armed goons flood the building, moving with precision. A takeover. And the man leading them. He stands outside, broadcasting his message with a confidence that borders on madness. This place, the villain declares, is now under the control of the executioner. Jaerim stiffens. His entire body locks up, every muscle tense. What? His mind scrambles for an answer. He's the executioner. He runs the underworld's deadliest operations. So what in the world is this lunatic talking about? Before Jaerim can process anything, the villain plummets, from the sky like a meteor. The impact is violent. Cracks spiderweb across the car where he lands, the force sending a tremor through the floor. A thick, suffocating darkness radiates from him, curling in waves like living smoke. It's an aura Jaerim knows all too well. Because it's just like his own. The villain straightens, a wicked grin splitting his face. Step out to the parking lot now, unless you want me to start making hostages out of your dear loved ones. No one moves, the villain clicks his tongue. TSK, stubborn, aren't we? His gaze sharpens, his voice dropping into something colder. You dirty hypocrites. Playing heroes while burying your own filth under the rug, how noble. Jaerim doesn't react, not outwardly. But internally. Oh my, who is this guy? And more importantly, what the hell is he up to? The villain's voice rings out, calling the Hanyong Kim family a bunch of hypocrites. Ihun Kim and Jaerim sit across from each other in stiff silence, neither speaking nor meeting the other's gaze. Then, as if a silent agreement passes between them, they bolt from their seats and rush indoors. But when they reach the dining room, the once lively space is eerily empty. Chairs are pushed back as if abandoned in a hurry, dishes sit untouched, and the faint clatter of utensils settling is the only sound left behind. Not a single soul remains. Ihun Kim's forehead glistens as sweat pours down his temples, his breath shaky, his mind racing. Jaerim, however, doesn't stop for even a second. His feet pound against the floor, his legs moving on their own as he charges toward the balcony, one singular thought repeating in his head like a siren blaring at full volume, where is Hain? His eyes dart frantically across the yard below, scanning the scene, and his stomach twists when he spots the Kim family outside, hurriedly moving. In their midst, standing out like a sore thumb, is Hain, powerless, vulnerable, and completely out of place. A flicker of movement snags Jaerim's attention. His eyes narrow as he strains to see through the darkness. And there, just beyond the driveway, he catches sight of someone. His breath hitches, his chest tightens. That figure is familiar, it's him. No, someone pretending to be him. His jaw clenches so hard it might crack. Who in their right mind would dare pull something like this? Who even could? His hands shake with barely contained fury, but before he can act on it, his phone buzzes in his pocket. He yanks it out, his thumb swiping at the screen, and his eyes dart across Jay's report. The message sends a chill down his spine. K, the very same K who reports to him, had apparently changed targets at the last minute, setting his sights on the Hanyong Kims. And Jay had tried to warn him, but thanks to his impeccable timing of hanging up, he never got the memo. Jaerim's heartbeat is like a war drum against his ribs. His fingers grip his phone so tightly that for a second, it's a miracle it doesn't snap in half. Panic creeps in, horror clings to his lungs. His mind scrambles for a plan, for an answer, for anything. But nothing comes. His hands are tied, and for once, he has no idea what to do. Then, a hand claps down on his shoulder. Jaerim flinches, his body stiffening. Ihun Kim stands beside him, calm as ever, his grip firm, his expression unreadable. He meets Jaerim's wild gaze and, in that usual composed tone, tells him to stay put. Jaerim blinks, stay put. His face contorts in something between disbelief and pure offense. His stomach churns at the sheer absurdity of the suggestion. His eyes narrow, his lip curls, and the look he gives Ihun could melt steel. In what world, what universe, would he ever just sit back and wait? Jaerim struggles to follow orders, his instincts screaming at him to act, but Ihun Kim's grip on his shoulder tightens. With his usual, unnerving calm, Ihun assures him that he'll take care of it. His precision is unmatched, but for that, he needs complete focus. His one request. Jaerim needs to stay put. Jaerim, however, has bigger problems than his itchy trigger finger. A thought gnaws at him: Hain's uncle doesn't trust him. The way the older man watches him, the way his sharp eyes flicker with scrutiny, it's clear as day. But before Jaerim can dwell on that, the Kim family edges ever closer to the parking lot. Hain's father stiffens. He senses it, the shift in the air, the subtle ripple of power. His brother is about to act. And if Ihun Kim is going to execute his ability efficiently, then distractions need to be handled. With practiced ease, he directs the family's attention elsewhere, voice firm, as he asks how their location was leaked. Their whereabouts had been confidential. So how? Kay grins, entirely unfazed. His confidence drips off him like he already knows his one. Not just your location, he announces, tilting his head with mock amusement. Hain's father's eyes darken, his irritation spiking into something sharper, more dangerous. Curiosity tugs at his expression, but it's overshadowed by his anger. Kay doesn't falter. With the same ease as someone delivering casual gossip, he steps down from the car and strolls forward. Then, with a smirk that could split the world in half, he drops a bombshell. I know all about your youngest daughter. The one you keep so carefully hidden away. His smirk widens. The one without abilities. Silence hangs heavy in the air. Grandpa and Hain's father react first. They are livid, their fury crackling like a storm about to strike. Meanwhile, Hain's mother, desperate to shield her daughter, yells out, her voice cutting through the tension. She calls to Hain, urging her to ignore the villain's words. But Hain. She doesn't even flinch. Her expression remains unreadable, her steps steady as she moves closer, her eyes locked on Kay. She isn't rattled, if anything, she's intrigued. There's only one thing she wants to know. Who told you? K's laughter explodes into the night, sharp and crazed, the sound echoing off the walls. He clutches his stomach, shaking his head, thoroughly amused. You actually think I'd tell you, he sneers, wiping at an invisible tear. His laughter dies, his expression snapping into something deadly serious. If I had the time, he continues, voice smooth, almost casual, I'd have kidnapped you already. Taken you hostage. A beat of silence follows. Jaerim's hands curl into fists, his jaw locking so tight it aches. His blood boils, his breath uneven, his patience gone? Not too far away, Ihun Kim is moments away from unleashing his attack, every muscle in his body coiled with precision. But before he can execute it, Jaerim, in all his impulsive glory, makes a decision. With zero hesitation, and even less common sense, he jumps off the balcony. A chorus of shocked gasps erupts. Hain's uncle calls out to him, and every member of the Kim family whips their heads around, their eyes widening as they watch the reckless young man plummet. Time seems to slow as Jaerim descends. It's almost graceful, almost, and then, with a spectacularly loud thud, he crashes into the ground, sending up a thick cloud of dust and debris. Hain's heart nearly stops. Jaerim, she shouts, her voice sharp with worry. For a tense few seconds, nothing moves. Then, out of the bushes, Jaerim stumbles forward, coughing up a leaf that had somehow made its way into his mouth. He spits it out with a disgusted grimace, his hair a mess, his dignity in shambles. He wrestles his way out of the branches, barely standing upright when Hain dashes to his side. Her hands fly over him, checking for injuries, her concern evident. Meanwhile, Kay is stunned. His smirk falters. His confidence wavers. For the first time since arriving, he looks genuinely thrown off. Jaerim flicks his gaze toward the villain and gives him a look, one that screams, "Keep your mouth shut." K squints, trying to make sense of what he's seeing. Something about the man before him seems familiar, but it doesn't quite click, until it does. His eyes widen as realization dawns. It's a rare sight indeed, the boss, in casual clothes. The villain grins, excitement buzzing in his voice. "Boss?" "Oh, hell no." Before Kay can say another word, Jaerim lets out a heavy sigh, bends down, and picks up a rock. But this isn't just any rock. No, this is a rock with a mission. With pinpoint accuracy, and strength that really shouldn't be possible, Jaerim launches it straight at Kay. The projectile moves like a bullet. It slams into Kay with bone-rattling force, sending the villain flying backward. He crashes into the ground, his cry of "Boss" stretching out as he soars through the air. The Kim family stares, their jaws collectively hitting the floor. Hane's father, who had been so sure Jaerim was just a normal young man, can't believe his eyes. Superpowers? From him? Impossible. Ihun Kim, equally stunned, watches in silence. He had been convinced Jaerim worked for the executioner, so what the hell did he just witness? Jaerim steps forward, his silhouette looming over Kay like a dark omen. His fists clench so tightly his knuckles crack, his entire body radiating barely restrained fury. Then, without warning, boom, he moves. 1 second, he's standing still. The next, he's a blur. Kay barely has time to process it. Enjoying this story so far? Drop a comment showing your interest in a part 2 and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Until next time, adios.